Welcome to the Unstoppable You podcast with your host, Gaby Company. Today, my host is a successful entrepreneur, Dr. Vesna Grubacevic. She's an author, a speaker, founder of a multi-award winning company, QT, Performance Transformation Expert, Certified NLP Trainer, Hypnotherapy Trainer, and QT Respect I, Creator and Trainer. Also holding a PhD and BEc. She has been running her company QT since 2000. Welcome, Dr. Vesna, to the Unstoppable You podcast.
Thank you so much, Gabby. Great to be here.
Oh my God, thank you. You have a lot of expertise. Could you please, Dr. Vesna, you have accomplished so much in your career. Could you introduce yourself and let us know what challenges you overcame in your life before becoming successful?
Okay, so you've done a great introduction. Thank you.
Welcome.
So just to add a little bit to it, I started my company in 2000 after 13 years in banking and finance. During that 13 years, I realized I was a fish out of water, not where I belonged. So I asked myself a big question: what do I want to do when I grow up? This is in my mid-30s. And I decided I better find out. So I did a lot of self-development. The last 4 years I was there. And through that process, I discovered I love people rather than numbers, because I was an economist working with numbers at the bank. And so I retrained myself, and I discovered that the techniques that I've come across were really powerful and helped me to overcome all of my issues. And I certainly had lots of issues, decades of bullying, abuse, trauma, self-doubt, fear, self-sabotage, the list goes on. And importantly, I worked on all of that, addressed all of that many years ago, which is one of the keys to my business success. The mindset is so important.
Thank you for sharing that. Bullying is a big one. I remember my time in the school as well when I've been 12, 13 years old. My friends, oh, look at your shoes, look at your clothes. But that time you don't know the strategies.
No.
You are a kid and you start feeding, a lack of confidence and limiting belief. Thank you for sharing. You are an author of several books. In your book, Stop Sabotaging Your Confidence, you mention a lot about confidence issues. What is self-sabotage? And why most people are sabotaging themselves?
Simply put, sabotage is any time we get in our own way. So we set out to do something and achieve something, and our action or lack of action prevents us from doing, being, and having what we want.
Yeah. In books, for example, we read that we need to monitor how we feel. We need to monitor our frustration, thoughts. But sometimes it's impossible because we don't know how to do it. Even people, they don't know they are facing issues in their life.
That's right. So I think self-awareness is very much the very first step for people. And I always say to people, pay attention to a few things because they will give you clues as to what's going on subconsciously. First one is the self-talk. Is it negative or positive? Yeah, and look for patterns. Twice is a pattern from a behavioural psychology point of view. So if you notice the same negative self-talk twice, pay attention. Likewise with emotions. If you find yourself overreacting with emotions, or people are easily pushing your buttons, you've heard the expression, then it's a sign, especially if it happens twice or more. It's a sign that you're out of control with your emotions. Okay, you need to balance them out. And finally, actions. Pay attention to your actions. Do you follow through on what you say you're going to do? Or do you put it off or not do it at all?
Yeah. Dr. Vesna, why people always are focused on 95% on the negative stuff and just 5% the positive over and over again?
Yeah, unfortunately it's societal conditioning. Unfortunately it's everywhere. You see signs, for example, they say no standing. They say don't drink and drive. It's always negative. It's always negative. So even the news, I call it National Depression Hour because it's all negative. And at the end of it, people feel bad because there's nothing there that's exciting or motivating. So I think people need to be mindful of what they read, what they watch, what they listen to, and also who they surround themselves with, because all of that affects us, because you've heard the expression, you are your environment.
Yeah, yeah, it's important what you say, what you are consuming every single day,
Yes.
you know, especially those programs on TV.
That's right.
What strategies or tools can people apply to stop sabotaging the confidence when we talk about a specific confidence?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to identify, what are we doing to sabotage ourselves? And again, paying attention to the thoughts, feelings and behaviours will point us in the right direction. And then once we are aware of it, take responsibility, take ownership of it, rather than blaming other people, blaming the situation, or making excuses. Yeah? And one tip that people can apply to anything in business is always be clear about your outcome. Be clear about what you want to achieve and be very specific and positive about what it is you want, because either way you'll attract it.
Yeah.
And then also make sure it's a win-win for everyone. I'm a firm believer in acting out of integrity at all times. So we always need to make sure our outcomes are good for everyone. Never do harm, basically. And then once we're clear about the outcome, think about exactly what you want, as I said, and be specific and positive. And prior to a meeting or picking up the phone or going to a networking event, visualize a successful outcome beforehand. The mind is very powerful. Whatever you imagine, you'll create. So if we can visualize success in advance, it's going to help us significantly. And it's been proven that mental rehearsal does produce results. Top athletes use it prior to successful games, for example.
What happens when people, they are looking for the magic pill? They are willing to get success overnight.
That's a big fallacy. You need to think about, you've got two choices basically, or three choices. Do nothing and stay stuck.
Yeah, that's true. No results.
No, that's right. I mean, and respect to people. Some people choose that. That's their journey, and that's fine if that's where they choose to be for that moment in time, until they're ready to make a change. Second option is to do what I call a Band-Aid solution. Go in for a quick fix. And we know what happens with Band-Aids in the wash. They come off in a couple of days. So it's a short-term fix. And then the third option is to do permanent long-term change. And that's where my expertise lies. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Could you share briefly a story about a client who had a breakthrough moment after working with you?
Okay. A couple quick ones come to mind. One is a lady, business owner. Client numbers are reducing, like falling down, lack of confidence, undervaluing herself, and of course it reflected in the reduction in clients. We identified the patterns of sabotage, helped her to improve her confidence, develop new strategies, and within 3 months her client numbers increased by over 500%.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the power of the mind.
Amazing.
Yeah. And a gentleman that comes to mind, by his own admission, a huge procrastinator. Yeah, he admitted that openly. And so he was putting off a key decision in his business for months and months and months. And then we helped him to address the patterns of sabotage around that. And then he very quickly made a decision he was happy with. And the decision was to do something in his business that was costing him $120,000 a year. So by putting it off, that's how much money he was wasting.
Wow.
And once he made the decision, he saved $120,000 a year, which is a lot of money in business.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between self-sabotage and procrastination, or they are related?
Great question. So procrastination is an example of self-sabotage. And from my research, there's over 35 different ways people can sabotage themselves. And sabotage, the procrastination is one example. The other top ones for business owners, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of rejection. And we know that we attract what we fear. Yeah, so we need to make sure that we address our fears, because they do become self-fulfilling.
But fear is not going to pass, it's not going to disappear.
No.
Never. So how can we use fear in our favor?
There's a difference between fear and anxiety, and people confuse the two. So fear is usually based on something that's happened in the past, and then we keep recreating it because you get what you focus on. And anxiety is usually when people are focusing on the future and things that might go wrong, or, the negative what ifs that people do, what if it doesn't work? So that's more anxiety. So it's important to distinguish the two because there's different ways of dealing with them.
Yeah, that's true. What advice would you give someone, to our audience, who is feeling stuck in their current situation, either personally or business?
Great question. I think the number one thing I would suggest is be honest with yourself and acknowledge that you are stuck. Avoid going into denial. If you stay in denial and just pretend that nothing's going to change, or things will change but you're doing nothing, you'll stay stuck. Okay, so that is something that I would definitely do first up. Acknowledge that you're stuck. Be honest with yourself. And again, pay attention to your thoughts, your emotions and your behaviours, because that will guide you as to what's going on that's causing the stuckness. Okay, so that's number one. Once you've been honest with yourself, the next thing is really important. Be ready to do something about it. Be ready and willing to make a change. Okay, make a commitment, because not everybody's ready. Some people will say, yes, I can see the problem, but they'll do nothing about it. So that's really important. Be ready to do something about it. And finally, then reach out for help. Reach out for help to then address and deal with these issues, ideally permanently, so that way it stops the stuckness and you can move forward and achieve the success you want.
Thank you very much for sharing that important information. Please let us know how people can contact you.
The best way is via our website, which is qttransformation.com. And then they can download some free confidence and success building resources right away and help themselves right away as well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vesna, for being here. It was amazing, everything that you shared with the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gabby.
It was Gabby Company. See you next time. Bye.